That's Mark from LIMSI, France. That's a question for the last speaker. That's Laurie. You described here. You described the corpus that you donated to non-governmental organizations. Would you also donate it for research to train SMT systems?
Sorry, I didn't hear all that. The corpus, what we donate to humanitarian organizations, do we donate it to who?
To research organizations, to train SMT systems.
No, but we could. We don't, to be honest, we don't collect the corpus as much because we have a lot of volunteers at the front end. We have a lot of translators. We have over 1,200 and another 900 just one step behind them. But what we don't have is volunteers who work on the translation memory front. So we don't keep a lot of that corpus, unfortunately. But we're doing work now in African languages. We've got a training center in Nairobi, and we're going to be keeping the Swahili corpus because that's really important.
I have a second question, if I may. How do your post-editors or users evaluate the SMT results? What kind of metrics do you use? What kind of assessment do you make?
So sorry, I couldn't hear that question.
How do you evaluate the results of the SMT systems? I mean, post-editors or the users? You said you had, for instance, 8 points out of 10. What kind of metrics do you use?
Well, see, I'm kind of mystified by the whole focus on NIST and Blue and GTM and all the different metrics that we apply to machine translation, and we do apply them because we are sort of obliged to hand out statistics. But I'm mystified by the whole thing because why would evaluating machine translation quality for a language provider be any different than the way that we evaluate our human translations? So in fact, for our own purposes, when we don't have to deliver a metric for a client, we use the same process of evaluating our quality, and we have the same standards too. We expect it to be as good as a human translation, and we measure it whether it's the statistics you saw came from the LISA quality standard.
I'd like to direct a question to a gentleman who had the talk about machine translation. When you talked about getting more data and then reaching out for more languages, I'm afraid that in the case of under-resourced languages, they will remain under-resourced. So as much as effort you put into this direction, you will not be able to get, or it will be very hard to get, the needed amount of parallel data to train the proper systems.
I agree with this assessment, and a part that I did not show there is that part of this ecosystem that we have with the machine translation integrated within the larger SDN infrastructure is the fact that even human translators, as they are producing text, let's say, in any of these languages, all of that information flows back into the machine translation repositories where you can use it later on for retranslating or retraining the engines. So it's part of this system of values that you can have all these parts of technology, like the TMs that are being preserved after the translators are done, flow into the parallel corpora that are used to retrain the engines. So it's just a never, virtuous loop, so to speak. And I agree, there is no other way around because there are humans that need to create these resources first, and then the machine will take advantage. This is a slow process for these languages, but I don't see any other way. Good point.
Hungarian Academy of Sciences. My question is to Florence Beaujard about the Airbus controlled language development. It is remarkable that Boeing started this 30 years ago, their own controlled language work, and truly for any large-scale international technology effort, something like this is necessary. There is no question about it. The question that I have is that how much of this development is going to stay within Airbus, or can we hope that other research groups or organizations can benefit something from this? How will it travel to the wider world?
So, first of all, one point about your first remark about Boeing. So, in fact, control language in aeronautics started in Europe first with the documentation for maintenance people. And so the simplified English from AECMA was developed at the end of last century, and it was driven by European. Then Boeing joined the group to work on a control language, but for maintenance people. The novelty on what I presented to you is that it is dedicated to pilots. And so at that time we didn't heard about a control language for pilots on the Boeing side. Okay. So after your second point was about what is the impact on documentation? Yeah.
What is the impact outside the aeronautics world? How are people in other walks of life going to benefit from this effort? Is it the case that the next time the pharmaceutical industry decides that they need something, then they will have to start again? The whole effort will have gained nothing from the aeronautics industry, or how is this going to work?
We have started to discuss with Eurocopter, but it is in aeronautic as well, but for helicopter and not civil Airbus aircraft, in order to exchange the control language and to help them to apply it on a helicopter. But outside the aeronautical world, what could be worthy is all the work we did on reducing synonymy, for example. We developed criteria to select one word among a list of synonyms in order to simplify the vocabulary. In addition, we work on abbreviations and acronyms. We develop some kind of rules to create acronyms to name equipment and so on. That could be useful. We have developed a lot of protocol of tests to check the transparency of abbreviation and so on. So we have a protocol to assess a lot of abbreviation. We have created some rules to be able to generate transparent abbreviation and then to be able to perform tests and select one abbreviation among a lot of abbreviations. So sure, there could be a lot of things to share, but that has to be discussed. We can exchange on that. And on the other hand, what I proposed in my presentation is to work on specification, and on this point we could share a lot of things. Corpus, sampling of corpus, not full corpus, and we can work together with partners and so on, because specification is less confidential on our side.
Okay, we have time for the very last question. Joseph?
Okay, question to George Wright, Joseph Mariani, LIMSI, and IMI France. So you mentioned that you're using Sphinx for transcribing your data, and you have problem with British English acoustic model. So I'm glad to see that British English is a difficult situation, even though English is in a good situation, as we've seen before. So obviously you need better systems for transcribing your data, while researchers, we need more data in order to improve our systems. So how do you see the possible partnership between researchers and data providers and data users? I mean, is, for example, your data available for the research community?
That's an excellent question. So within BBC Research and Development, we constantly work for open standards, both in the broadcast world and in the web and linked data world. Normally, our content is locked to a country. I don't make those rules. I think they're curious. In this case, because it's a worldwide archive, we hope that we can do two things. We hope we can provide the data, and we hope that that can run alongside the content. I have to say, whilst for you, you clearly want the data, if we release that without the content, we would get so many complaints, because people would say, I don't need this, I want to listen to the program. So it's kind of like we have to do both at the same time. As I said, the stuff we've done so far, we've released the source code, we've released as open source. I hope to be able to make an announcement on our blog about some examples that we're going to release to show that this is the problem here, this is what we do with this. But to be honest, what we'd love to be able to do is put the whole lot up there. Come talk to me afterwards, anyone else that wants to talk about this. You know, what would be useful to you, because it's a fine line between the rights, as they're known, the legal rights to redistribute this stuff, and the opportunity to make the research in it better. So it is absolutely an aspiration. I'm stuttering a bit because we're only 9 months into this project. We hope to, because we think it would make it better for everyone. Okay?
Okay, the very last question, a very short answer, please.
Very, very short. I wonder what's the state of the art of machine translation as far as second language acquisition purposes are concerned. I mean, are machine translators adopted at universities for the students to learn a foreign language? What's the state of the art? Is this technology applied for learning a second language or a third language?
Who's going to take this?
I have no idea. I didn't hear any threads along those lines, so I would be surprised if they are mainstream. Probably they're not, but I wouldn't be surprised if you know, here and there you hear somebody trying it out, but it's not mainstream for sure. But no, it's still.
That would be breaking new ground for machine translators to be applied at universities.
That could be. Frankly, it's the first time I'm hearing this suggestion. It could be a very good idea. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. We concluded this session. Now we have lunch. I have been told that we need to start again 2:00 p.m. sharp. So that's it's not my fault.